morning everyone. I am Dr. Shinjini Shukla and we are going to discuss today about anemia and its classification. Good morning everyone. My name is Dr. Shinjini Shukla and today we are going to speak about anemia and its classification. Anemia is derived from the Greek word meaning without blood. It is a sign, so it is important to investigate the cause of anemia and to manage it accordingly. Definition wise, anemia is present. Anemia is deficiency of red blood cells and or hemoglobin. When the hemoglobin level in blood is less than 2 standard deviation for that particular age and sex, then it is defined as anemia. The physiological definition of anemia is a condition in which tissue hypoxia occurs due to inadequate oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. According to National Family Health Survey, incidence of anemia in urban children is 55.9%, in rural it is 59.4%, and overall it is 58.4%. So to know a little bit more about anemia, there are two examples. The first one is a 3-year-old cyanotic heart disease child with hemoglobin less than 13 gram per deciliter. This child is still called anemic because according to physiological definition, there is inadequate oxygen carrying capacity in the blood because of cyanotic heart disease, and that causes tissue hypoxia. So he is still considered as anemic. But in the second example, there is a 6-week-old thriving primate with hemoglobin 7.7 gram per deciliter, and is still not considered anemic because this value is not less than 2 standard deviation below not less than 2 standard deviation for its age, gender, race and developmental stage. Factors which affect baseline hemoglobin levels are age, gender, race, altitude and heredity. In these two slides, we can compare the normal amount of red blood cells with that of an anemic red blood cells. In the first slide, the number of red blood cells is adequate, so the child is not anemic. And in the second slide, the number of red blood cells is inadequate, so the child turns out to be anemic. So talking about the physiological adaptations made by the body for anemia. Anemia leads to decreased oxygen carrying capacity in the blood, so there is some compensatory physiological adjustments made by the body. Firstly, there is lack of blood, which leads to decrease in normal number of RBCs or less than normal quantity of hemoglobin in the blood, which leads to lack of oxygen carrying red blood cells. This can be manifested as lack of colorfulness, that is pallor in the body, lack of vigor, power, vitality or energy of the individual, and because of lack of oxygen carrying red blood cells, there is lack of oxygen delivery to the tissues. So because of all this, there is some physiological adaptations made by the body. So how does the body adapt to all these changes? To maintain the blood volume, there is increase in plasma volume and redistribution of blood flow. This leads to increase in heart rate, increase in circulation rate, and increase in cardiac output, which causes increase in blood flow and oxygen delivery to the tissues. Also, there is diversion of blood flow from tissues with lesser oxygen requirement to those with greater oxygen requirement. That is, there is preferential shunting of blood to the vital organs. So, blood flow is reduced in skin and kidney, and it is increased in brain, heart and muscles. How do we diagnose anemia? It can be done according to history, clinical features and lab investigations. History can give the clues to the etiology of anemia, so history should be taken properly. Firstly, dietary history should be taken. Dietary history should be taken in great detail because it gives clues to the nutritional type of nutritional anemia like iron deficiency anemia or vitamin B12 deficiency anemia. So what should be asked in diet history? Firstly, you have to ask if the child is breastfed exclusively for first 6 months of life. In spite of being breastfed exclusively, the child can develop iron deficiency anemia if the mother has also got iron deficiency anemia. Then you should ask about weaning. Weaning time should be asked, like if weaning was started in 6 months of life or 8 months, 9 months. And weaning diet should be asked about. If during weaning cow's milk was added, dilutional cow's milk was added, the quantity and quality of the cow's milk or goat's milk, or vegetarian diet is taken, exclusively vegetarian diet is taken, that can lead to vitamin B12 deficiency anemia. If there is poor feeding habit in the child, he's not able to take milk, he's not able to wean properly, the weaning advice is not given properly to the mother, she is not aware how to wean the child, all this can lead to nutritional anemia. Also ask history about chronic diarrhea, especially after taking milk, as it indicates milk allergy. Then next history to be taken is medication history. Medication history is important in mothers. What type of vitamins are they taking or hematinics they are taking? That should be taken. Next is maternal history. Maternal history should ask about any infections, maternal infections. If the mother has got anemia, if there is history of blood loss, and postpartum if there is jaundice present in the child, any hemangioma or cephalhematoma, all this should be taken. Then you should ask about the time of presentation of anemia, like age of presentation. For example, thalassemia major usually presents by 4 to 6 months of age, and maximum it takes by 1 year of age. Thalassemia major is presented. Diamond Blackman syndrome is presented by 3 months of age or earlier. Fanconi's anemia is presented by 3 to 4 years of age. So age of presentation of anemia should be taken into account. Next is symptoms. So what symptoms do we get history wise? Like early symptoms are tiredness, lassitude, easy fatigability, generalized muscular weakness, irritability, inadequate school performance. Nervous system involvement includes headache, dizziness, vertigo, fainting, tinnitus, lack of concentration, drowsiness, and if there is severe anemia, there is clouding of consciousness also. GI problems include chronic diarrhea, pica, history of pica, liver disease, gallstone formation. There can be overt signs of blood loss like hematuria and black stool formation. Also, family history should be taken into account, like family history of anemia, gallstone formation, repeated blood transfusion, which denotes chronic hemolytic anemia. So, all these history has to be taken. Clinical features. The most important clinical feature is pallor. So, where do we look for pallor? Pallor is found on nail beds, in oral mucous membrane, tongue, in lower palpebral conjunctiva. In the if you have severe anemia, the palmar crease become white. So these are the places where you look for pallor. Next is dyspnea on exertion or breathlessness on exertion, difficulty in breathing on exertion. So like after playing you have difficulty in breathing, or after some exercise difficulty in breathing is present or not. Next is tachycardia or increase in heart rate for that particular age and sex. Next is palpitation. Then palpitation can be asked only in older children because they can experience palpitation. Younger children will not be able to tell about palpitations. Next is postural hypotension, elevated pulse pressure and bounding pulse. Some specific findings in anemia. In vitamin B12 deficiency, you can find knuckle pigmentation, that is darkening of skin, or pigmentations present in the upper intercostal joints. Then there can be signs of malnutrition and other neurological changes can be seen. In iron deficiency anemia, koilonankia can be present and severe anemia can be present. In hemolytic anemias, jaundice can be present. There are hemolytic facies, ulcers in leg. If the child presents with lymphadenopathies, we can think of malignancies, tuberculosis or malaria. In systemic examination, we can find hemic murmurs. which become prominent with the severity of anemia. Hemic murmurs are mid-diastolic flow murmurs, and they reflect the increase in velocity of blood flow which passes through the valves. So they can be heard in pulmonary area, but can also be heard in areas corresponding to any of the heart valves. Then we can find systolic bruise. There can be signs of congestive cardiac failure. There can be presence of hepatomegaly or splenomegaly or both. Laboratory investigations. First one is complete hemogram. This reveal if there is any isolated anemia or if other cell lines are also affected. In complete hemogram, we can come to know about red blood cell counts, hemoglobin level, WBC counts, its differential counts, platelet count, hematocrit level, RBC indices like MCV. MCV is mean corpuscular volume, and it reflects the average size or volume of RBCs. It is expressed in femtoliters and it is divided into micro, macro or normocytic. Next red cell indices is MCH. MCH denotes mean cell hemoglobin. It indicates the weight of hemoglobin in the average red cell. MCHC is mean cell hemoglobin concentration, and this indicates the concentration of hemoglobin in the average red cell. So MCH and MCHC can be divided into normoglobin, hypo or hyperglobin. Next is peripheral smear. In peripheral smear, we can come to know about various things like cell morphology, any special cells found like histiocytes, spherocytes, sideroblasts, sickle cell, any parasites, polychromasia. So all these can be found in peripheral smear. Next is reticulocyte count. So it can be decreased. It can tell us about decreased production or increased destruction of RBCs. Reticulocytes normal range is 0.5 to 2.5%, and the absolute count is 25 to 125 femtoliter. Reticulocytes are raised in anemia because of raised erythropoietin level. In case of anemia, if there is no raised reticulocyte count, it means that there is bone marrow abnormality or lack of erythropoietin stimulus. In such cases, white blood counts and platelet counts can help to rule out pancytopenia from anemia. In hemolysis or hemorrhage, the neutrophils and platelet levels are raised. In leukemias, white cell levels are raised. So these can also help in differential diagnosis of anemia. Next is bone marrow examination. So bone marrow can be either aspirated or a biopsy can be taken. Bone marrow examination will give the cellularity myeloid versus erythroid ratio. It can tell us about the presence of abnormal cell like cancer cells, and some special stains can be done like iron. It can tell us about iron deficiency too. There are some cutoff values of hemoglobin and hematocrit by WHO to define anemia. In the age group of 6 months to 5 years, if there is hemoglobin less than 11 gram per deciliter and hematocrit less than 33%, it can be defined as anemia. In 5 to 11 years, hemoglobin level should be less than 11.5 gram per deciliter, hematocrit less than 34%. In 12 to 13 years, hemoglobin should be less than 12 gram per deciliter and hematocrit less than 36%. In non-pregnant women, hemoglobin should be less than 12 gram per deciliter and hematocrit less than 36%. And in men, hemoglobin should be less than 13 gram per deciliter and hematocrit less than 39%. Normal red cell indices value. MCV at birth is 108, at 0.5 to 2 years is 78, 6 to 12 years 86, 12 to 18 years in girls is 90, and in boys is 88. MCH at birth is 34, 0.5 to 2 years 27, 6 to 12 years 29, 12 to 18 years girls 30 and boys 30. MCHC at birth is 33, 0.5 to 2 years 33, 6 to 12 years, 34. 12 to 18 years, girls and boys, 34. This slide shows how a normocytic cell is seen. So it is a donut in shape with the center one-third of the cell being pale or without hemoglobin. This is how a normocytic cell is seen in a slide. Microcytic cell, it is smaller in size than a normocytic and uniform distribution of hemoglobin throughout the cell. Macrocytic cell, it is larger in size than a normal cell and also throughout distribution of hemoglobin is present. Normochromic cell tells about the concentration of hemoglobin in the cell. The middle one-third shows pallor or pale. There's no hemoglobin or very less hemoglobin present in the center, and then uniform distribution throughout the peripheries. This is normochromic cell. Hypochromic cell, there is a more paleness present in the center of the cell. There is less concentration of hemoglobin, that's why there is more paleness around the center of the cell than normochromic cell. See the adjacent cells for comparison. Hyperchromic cell, there is more concentration of hemoglobin than the normochromic cell. So throughout the cell there is equal distribution of color throughout the cell. So this shows a hyperchromic cell. This slide shows side-by-side comparison of normochromic, normocytic, hyperchromic, microcytic, hyperchromic and macrocytic cells. Classification of anemia. Anemia classification by RBC size. Microcytic anemia are iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, anemia of inflammation, lead poisoning anemia, other unstable hemoglobinopathies. Normocytic anemias are anemia of inflammation, acute blood loss, transient erythroblastopenia of childhood, Diamond-Blackfan anemia, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, sickle cell anemia, hereditary spherocytosis, G6PD and enzymopathies. Macrocytic anemias are Diamond-Blackfan anemia, Fanconi anemia, aplastic anemia, other bone marrow failure syndromes, trisomy 21, hypothyroidism, and most importantly vitamin B12 and folate deficiencies. Anemia classification by mechanism. First one is decreased production. They are iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, anemia of inflammation, lead poisoning, transient erythroblastopenia of childhood, Diamond-Blackfan anemia, vitamin B12 and or folate deficiency, hypothyroidism, bone marrow failure syndrome. Increased consumptions are autoimmune hemolytic anemia, thalassemia, sickle cell anemia, hereditary spherocytosis, acute blood loss, G6PD and other enzymopathies. So how do we approach a child with microcytic anemia? Initially we do peripheral blood smear, reticulocyte count and iron studies. If you have normal or reduced reticulocyte count, then do serum iron level, and if there is low serum iron level, low ferritin or increased TIBC, we can think of iron deficiency anemia. If there is normal or increased serum iron level, normal or low total iron binding capacity and ferritin, then we have to do a hemoglobin electrophoresis or HPLC. If that is normal, then we can think of sideroblastic anemia, and if electrophoresis is abnormal, we can think of hemoglobinopathies like thalassemia, thalassemia beta major, beta minor or alpha thalassemia. Now if you have low serum iron, normal or high ferritin, normal or low TIBC, then do erythrocyte sedimentation rate and C-reactive protein. If it is elevated, think of inflammatory diseases, and if ESR and CRP are normal, think of anemia of chronic diseases. Now if you have increased reticulocyte count and abnormal cell morphology in peripheral smear, Do hemoglobin HPLC or electrophoresis. With this, we can find out if any hemoglobinopathy is present. A hemoglobin sickle cell double S, sickle beta thalassemia can be present. Next, how do we approach a child with normocytic anemia? Do reticulocyte count, if it is normal or reduced, to serum iron. If that is low, think of anemia of chronic disease or early iron deficiency anemia. If serum iron level is normal or high, to bone marrow biopsy, and it can show inflammatory diseases like leukemia, metastasis, myelofibrosis, aplastic anemia, pure red cell aplasia, myelodysplastic syndrome, congenital dyserythropoietic anemia. Now, if you have normal or reduced reticulocyte count, screen for renal, hepatic, and endocrine disease. If all that is negative, do bone marrow biopsy again to rule out the same disorders. And if the screen for renal, hepatic, and endocrine disease is positive, we can think of anemia of renal, hepatic, or endocrine diseases. Now, if the reticulocyte count is increased, positive tests for hemolysis are done. If it is present, think of hemolytic anemia. If it is not present, think of hemorrhage or recovery from nutritional deficiencies or sepsis. So the take-home message is that anemia is defined as decreased in RBCs and or hemoglobin for that particular age and sex. We can come to the diagnosis of anemia through detailed history, clinical features, and laboratory investigations. According to laboratory investigations, it can be divided into microcytic, normocytic, or macrocytic anemia, and then accordingly specific tests are done to confirm the diagnosis of anemia. Thank you.